I'm Joanna Small, the Public Information Officer for the Commerce City Police Department. It's Monday, October 28th, and these are your weekend high or lowlights, depending on how you look at them. This is essentially our video blotter where we give you a rundown of the most significant incidents your CCPD patrol officers responded to over the weekend. But we always like to start these off with a few fast facts. We answered 368 calls for service and conducted 34 traffic stops just on Saturday and Sunday. Now here are those highlights in chronological order. On Saturday, officers were called to a residential building in the 5400 block of East 62nd for reports that a resident had pulled a knife on a staff member. When we arrived, the employee told us she had been in fear for her life when the resident pulled out the knife during an argument. We recovered the weapon inside the suspect's backpack. She was arrested and is facing charges for felony menacing. She was also jailed on an outstanding warrant. Also on Saturday, officers were called to an indecent exposure incident at a park in the 7300 block of Magnolia Street. The victim told us a man had exposed himself to her while standing near the bathroom. She also told us there were children in the area at the time. When the victim passed by the park a second time, the suspect did the same thing, and she decided to call us. We located the suspect still in the park and learned he was a registered sex offender convicted for indecent exposure. He is now facing that same charge again. Again on Saturday, officers were called to the 11,000 block of Landmark Drive for an unattended 5-year-old with no shoes. When we arrived, the caller told us a man claiming to be the child's father had picked him up, but she got a vehicle plate. Using that plate, we attempted to contact the registered owner, who had 2 other incidents in the last month in which officers were called due to his child being left unattended. He wasn't charged those times, but this time he does face child abuse charges. He didn't answer the door of his residence, so officers are still working on contacting him. Saturday night, officers were called to a single vehicle rollover crash that ended in a field and unfortunately resulted in the death of the driver, the vehicle's only occupant. He appears to have lost control on Quebec around 64th. The identity of the man who lost his life will be released by the coroner's office. On Sunday, officers responded to a disturbance with weapons in the 6600 block of Oneida Street. Dispatch advised a woman was swinging around a shovel and smashing pumpkins. When we arrived, we spoke with a resident who recognized the woman from the neighborhood and said she did appear to be having some sort of mental health crisis. Officers determined she was both a danger to herself and others, and she was transported to the hospital for a mental health evaluation and help. We'd like to recognize the community member whose quick thinking saved a man's life this weekend. On Sunday, she called 911 to report a man she believed was overdosing on fentanyl at a Commerce City park. She said she knew him by his first name and knew he was a drug user. When she witnessed him fall over and stop breathing, she administered 3 doses of Narcan. When officers arrived, he was conscious and breathing. Well done. Also on Sunday night, officers were dispatched to a disturbance in progress in the 5400 block of Quebec Street. This is a restaurant, and officers were told a customer was threatening others and claiming he had a gun. The suspect was being held outside the business by restaurant workers. Officers immediately took the suspect into custody and learned he did have a firearm on his person. We also learned people inside the restaurant saw the gun with the suspect's hand on it when he lifted up his shirt and was terrorizing the other customers. He's now facing a number of charges to include felony menacing, unlawful carrying of a concealed weapon, prohibited use of a weapon due to being under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and unlawful possession of a controlled substance due to also having illicit drugs. Again on Sunday, officers responded to the 6700 block of Quebec for shots fired call in which bullets entered a residence. Fortunately, no one inside was injured. The victim believed he knew who the suspects were, and officers immediately went to the residence where we believed they would be located. We were able to take 1 into custody and have additional suspects identified. They are facing attempted first-degree murder, illegal discharge of a firearm, reckless endangerment, and criminal mischief charges. That's all for now. We'll see you next time. Have a safer week, Commerce City, and remember, if you need us, we are always just minutes away.